crack myself up. Just haven't found my first Blanton's.
That's different. I really like that.
They're like together, like peas and carrots.
That's funny. Sometimes accidents are good things. Peychauds or Peychauds or Peychaud. This is not what I expected. Hey everybody. It is Thursday and it is beautiful bourbon night, and I'm glad you're here. And Paul is watching. Hey Paul, how are you? I hope you're well. Hope little Eleanor is well, and of course the missus as well. I just hope everybody's well. Tonight it's Old Overholt bottled in bond. Now, you know, I have not hidden my love for its older brother. The 114 proof Old Overholt, again, was a special release that only went out to Pennsylvania and Ohio. It's still out there. You can still get it. It was a 2020 release, and it's still out there. I've done my best to buy all of it. Just this week I decided to open a bottle of this again. It had been a while, and I'd forgotten how much I really like this rye. So let's get into Old Overholt. Find out more about it, shall we? This is a product of Jim Beam Distillery, although it wasn't always. It's said to be America's oldest continually maintained brand of whiskey, having founded itself in West Overton, Pennsylvania in 1810. Old Overholt established itself as a Monongahela rye. I said that right even, Monongahela. It kind of reminds me of, there was a TV show, Mulligan Stew, remember that? I don't know. So the Monongahela is a river in Appalachia. The water from the Monongahela and its tributaries and climate conditions of the valley contributed to the whiskey's distinct character. Also, what made it a Monongahela rye. Let's get this poured. Nom, 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 nom. Oh, I spoke French. Grain corn was not a plentiful crop in the area. So the original Old Overholt, the original Monongahela rye, was supposed to be 2 grains, rye and barley, and that's it. No corn in it. Generally in a ratio of 4 to 1. I like this as a twist cap on it. Made it really easy to open. They also say that the Monongahela rye was a sweet mash, sour mash fermentation, surely known to Pennsylvania's commercial distillers, but as of 1894, not one distillery there was sour mashing, according to surveys of the whiskey warehouses of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Maryland, New Jersey, and New York, published that year by the Sanborn Map Company, enlisting each distillery's procedure. So this originally may have been a sweet mash. Uses only fresh yeast from each fermentation rather than including a portion of spent stillage from a previous run. And the other thing that made it a Monongahela rye was it was fermented in a 3-chamber still. There's a website out there called Whiskey Advocate that has 2 different articles that talk about Old Overholt and its great history, as well as what is a Monongahela rye. So if you're looking for some reading material, you might check out Whiskey Advocate and look what they had to say about it. So this is, again, a product of Jim Beam, and it's Jim Beam in the Old Grandad Distillery. It is 100 proof, aged 4 years. Mash bill is, hey, Tom's watching. Mash bill is undisclosed, although it's rumored to be now, even though the original Monongahela rye didn't have any corn in it, this is supposed to be, they say, maybe, a high corn rye made in that Kentucky style of rye. Old Overholt was at one time one of the most respected and highly regarded whiskeys in the U.S., said to have once been the preferred tip of notables like Ulysses S. Grant and Doc Holliday. I'll be your huckleberry. After World War II, hey, Americans turned to clear spirits, and Old Overholt soon found itself as the only nationally distributed straight rye whiskey on the market. Despite being the only rye on the market, it struggled, and in 1987 was sold to Jim Beam. After the sale, production was moved to Kentucky. In the past, Beam Suntory has marketed Old Overholt as one of the olds along with Old Granddad. Okay. So let's talk about bottled and bond. I had somebody ask me about that. As a matter of fact, I went to the liquor store today. And because I was doing some research on what bottled and bonds was out there, and I went to the Kroger, and we have a tiny, tiny, tiny Kroger, and a tiny, tiny, tiny liquor store in the Kroger. They do what they can with it, but they had like 3 bottled and bond pours in there. And the woman behind the counter, just like everywhere else, she had no idea what any of it was. So let's go over what bottled and bond is. All right, so here we go. Bottled and bond. To be labeled bottled and bond, the whiskey must be the product of one distillation season and one distiller at a single distillery, aged in a federally bonded warehouse under the U.S. government supervision for at least 4 years, and must be bottled at exactly 100 proof. That doesn't mean the proof, well, yeah, it does. It has to be 100 proof. Additionally, the bottled and bond label must clearly identify the distillery where it was distilled and where it was bottled if it is different. In general, bottled and bond ryes are few and far between compared to regular bonded bourbons. And we got a couple ryes we're going to do and a couple bourbons we're going to do in this series. For years, the number of ryes has been dwarfed compared to bourbon. However, this is magnified when looking at bottled and bond ryes. Along with Old Overholt, 3 of the most well-known is Rittenhouse Rye, New Riff Rye, and E.H. Taylor Rye. That's bottled and bond. All right. All right, let's give this a taste. Now, again, you know I love the 114. I've been drinking it again recently myself. This is the bottled and bond. Let's see what we think of it. By the way, this is not available in Ohio right now. And I don't even remember where I got it or when. It hasn't been that long ago, but I don't remember where or when I got it. It was on the shelf. I went, okay. I think it might have been the same time I bought that cigar cut from Joseph Magnus. I think it might have been, yeah, because the store that I bought this from is no longer in business. I think that's where I got it. Okay. All right. Very sweet corn nose. That's, yeah. The thing I got off that nose right away was corn. Corn. Not corn like mellow corn nose. It doesn't taste like corn silks or something like that. It reminded me of corn. It's got a sweetness to it. All the other notes are there. There's a really nice caramel note. Or caramel, if you have a degree. You thought I'd forget. Yeah. I didn't even forget my haircut today. Don't I look gorge? That's what I ask the girl that does my hair. I get done and am I gorgeous? And she says, yes. Job well done. And then I pay her. It's a sweeter cinnamon, somewhere in between the normal cinnamon note and a red hot. Not quite there, just a little sweet on the cinnamon side. Yeah. I should open this 114 and compare it, but I'm not going to do that because I've got another 114 open upstairs and I don't want to open this one because I'll drink them both and that wouldn't be good for my collection at all, would it? I know you're supposed to drink them. I get it. All right. All right. The bloom is very nice. At first, it didn't quite hit me as hard as I wanted it to, and then it turned up the volume. That was nice. That was a really nice bloom. The mouthfeel is very nice on it. It's not at all thin. It's almost perfect mouthfeel. not silky or creamy like something that has been that wasn't filtered or something. I wouldn't go so far as to call it creamy or silky, but its viscosity is just about perfect. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Trent's watching. Hey Trent, how are you, sir? Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so there is a big difference between this 100 proof bottled in bond and the 114. This is, for me, this is the go-to pour. I mean, this thing is perfect. I love this pour. It doesn't even seem hot to me anymore at 114 proof. Maybe it oughta. Oops. But this held it. I'm not going to tell you it was the same. That is a superior pour for me, and this will grow on me. Mouth feels good. Bloom is good. Let's get into some flavors here. Trent, things are good, and I hope they are with you as well. Flavor on this is it's just a darn good rye. Not knowing the mash bill, if it is indeed a high corn rye, that's not saying it's a 51%. I can tell you just by drinking it, this is not a 51%. And I got talking to the lady at the liquor store today, and we were talking about those low ryes. Rittenhouse is a 51%. Elijah Craig is a 51%. Sazerac is a 51%. I know they don't talk about their mash bill, but it's 51%. This one is not quite as smooth drinking as the Elijah Craig, the Rittenhouse, or the Sazerac. So that leads me to believe, and it's a little spicier, so that leads me to believe that you may be looking maybe somewhere in the market of 65% rye, maybe 60% rye, 62. We don't know. I'm speculating. But the sweetness of that corn is there. So maybe 60, 62%, and then they did the corn and the malted barley. But really, if I hadn't had, the Old Overholt 114, I would tell you that this would be one of the ryes that I would go to if it were more available. It's just not available anymore, and like anywhere in the state right now that I could find. Now, I didn't do a statewide search, and I probably should have it, but it didn't even come up. I did a search on OHLQ, and it didn't even come up. So that tells me it's not available. But I could do a more exhaustive search and know more. All right. We're going to do the whole thing tonight. We're going to do water, and we're going to do ice. I haven't done all that. Did I do that last week? Yeah, I did it last week with Traveler. Yeah. That's just a really good rye. This is just a really, really tasty rye. I like it. But that's no secret. I like Old Overholt. I even like the lower proof. It's a little thinner, doesn't have the same mouthfeel, but I even like that one. This is just a good tasting rye. This is just a brand that more people really ought to get acquainted with. Really, honestly. I've sold tons of this. Before I ever got into retail, I sold a bunch of it. People would come in and say, "You got to try this." And they'd go, "What?" And I said, "Try. What?" And then I start talking about that special allocation, how it was only available in Pennsylvania and in Ohio, and it's not going to last forever. It's eventually going to run out, and all those things. And that I ended up selling to people. Where I found it, I sold it. All over the area. And then I got into retail, and I didn't sell it as much because I wanted it for myself. But I had done what I needed to do to evangelize the Old Overholt. And I'm going to continue to do that because this is a really nice pour. If you like 100 proof bottled in bond pours, you're going to like this one. All right, let's do some water. Let's do some agua. So, we are in for a very nice March. Oh, by the way, this is Leap Day. So if you weren't paying attention, this is Leap Day. This is the extra day that we get every 4 years. It's always a presidential election year. Leap day gives us 366 days in the year, and they always tack it onto the end of February, the shortest month, and that's today. And today also, by the way, is our 200th episode. Today. Leap day. 200, baby. 200. Now, so what did we do in episode 1? We did the Peerless Bourbon. And then we went back and we revisited that for episode 100, which Facebook then took off for whatever reason. Pukes. But this is episode 200. All right, a little water added. See what it does to the mouthfeel, the bloom, the flavor. This is a fresh crack. It's never been opened before. I've never tried this before today. That's the way I like to roll. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. I was going to say it felt like it proofed it down too much. I think I need to give that another shake. Let it sit in there for a minute. No, it proofed it down. It didn't really do anything. There's still a little bit of bloom on the end of my tongue. It's fine. It didn't really enhance the flavors. It didn't really enhance the bloom. It didn't enhance the mouthfeel. It's kind of, I wish I wouldn't have poured that much to put water in it. It's fine. It held up just nicely. It just didn't do anything. And I added a full milliliter of water to it. It just didn't do anything. So speaking of milliliters of water, I bought something kind of cool. I was fooling around online. I needed some more Glencairns because I broke one. So stupid. I missed the table. But anyhow, I saw some other things. And if you haven't seen these are neat. Come on, you putz. You may not see them yet. Come here. There, okay. So these are like little stoppers. And they go on the top of your Glencairn like that. And this one is Cairn Craft Cairn Caps. And it's really cool because they have these rings. If you wanted to do a blind or something like that and you needed to keep track of which pour was which I could have really used a couple of weeks ago when I was doing some comparisons over Valentine's Day. But anyhow, they've got these lines on here and it helps you keep track of what pour is what pour if you're doing blinds. So that's kind of nice. But it's really snug. It's got a real great seal on there, sits on there. So, if you start to fall asleep in the middle of a pour, put a cap on it and hit the hay and then drink it for breakfast in the morning. No, you wouldn't do that. No, that would be wrong. So that's that I got, and then I got this thing too, and this is from the Glencairn company, because like I said, I was buying Glencairns. So when you do that, it of course comes up with all the stuff that you could also buy. So I got this, and this is just neat. This is a way to add water. You plug the little hole, right? You put the water in it, plug the little hole, and then you put it in your glass. It'll hold 1 milliliter of water. In the very top is a teeny tiny little Glencairn. Isn't that neat? So I'll be transitioning to this at some point, at least occasionally, maybe these special occasions or something, I'll do that. Kind of neat. Just wanted to show that off a little bit because there's all sorts of stuff that you can get. I mean, if you're a whiskey enthusiast and you like all this stuff, you got to do some collecting of things other than the bottles. There's other stuff like barware and little tchotchkes and just all cool stuff. And shirts, t-shirts, whiskey makes me frisky. There's all sorts of stuff you can get if you're an enthusiast. That's why it's there, because they want to make money off of us, right? Yeah, I know, I get it. All right, so Jeff is watching. Hey, Jeff, how are you? Hey, Austin. Bill, how are you? I see the Old Overholt. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Old Overholt is what we're going for, and I like it just fine, especially neat. On water, it's a little lacking. Not a lot lacking, just a little lacking. But I wanted to get that out of the way. Damn, that's good. I wanted to get that out of the way because now it's ice time, and I don't like putting my watered down pours with ice. That's not fair to it. It needs to know. I need to know how it can stand on its own without the water in it. That's why we do the 3 tests. Water and ice would be a 4th test. And I'm sorry, I don't like tests. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's it. That's it. Stop. Stop, Casey. Stop. I think that's enough. All right. My drip rag. All right. So, Jeff, I'm glad you're here, sir. Nice of you to join us. Finger stir for Paul. That's going to be another thing on the bingo card is finger stir. I might already have it on there. I don't know. I have to look. All right. So will this hold up on ice? It's bottled and bond. It's 100 proof. I'm guessing it probably will. But let's find out. Yep. Actually, very nicely it does. So this was the rye, the 114 proof. This was the rye that I used in a friend's Manhattan. We were having a meeting that night, and I'm the bartender at the meetings, and I don't always have to bring my own booze, but I do bring my own accoutrement. And that night, I did bring the Old Overholt Rye 114 because I wanted to show it off. And the gentleman that I made the Manhattan for, he took a sip and went, it was very funny. I mean, this guy he's got money. So he's got a lot of great bottles. Really great bottles. But so this one, if you wanted to do a Manhattan with this one, you might get a little less and a little more. He ended up drinking it. He ended up finishing it. It just took him a little while. And he only had one. Sissy. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If that's you, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Paul, I did miss saying gorgeous ice. There. Thank you, Paul. It's a gorgeous, and it's a fresh one too. I just got it out of the mold 5 minutes before we started. So yeah, this is a very fresh, gorgeous ice. I can never decide if I'm being Sean Connery or Patrick Stewart when I do that. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that gorgeous? Drippy, drippy. Just ugh. That's one thing I'm glad I got into is the clear ice spheres. They're just up your game, man. They're just so gorgeous. Totes gorge. Okay. Bottom line, this will stand up to any cocktail. It's fantastic. It's good. I like the 114 better, but this will do just fine. 114 right now is still easier to find if you're in Pennsylvania and Ohio. Otherwise, pick up the bonded because it's quite nice. It's very tasty. All right, so what's going on next week? Next week is going to be another bottled and bond rye, and that would be the Rittenhouse. Yay, Rittenhouse. Now, so here's the thing about Rittenhouse. It's bottled and bond. It's 100 proof. It's a rye. How close will these be? Well, we're going to find out. This is Beam. This is not. So I don't know a whole lot about this, and that's the other point of this is because I don't know. Excuse me. 100 episodes ago, back in the echelon of episodes, I did a taste comparison between the Sazerac, the Elijah Craig, and the Rittenhouse. And I'm not going to tell you which one won. You'd have to go back and watch it. But I have never done a full-out Bourbcast on any of those except for the Sazerac. So, we're going to find out more about the Rittenhouse Bottled and Bond 100 proof rye next week on the Bourbcast. We're going to find out about it. We're going to taste it. We're going to run through the paces and tell you more about it. I will tell you, I've had this before. This is one of the few that I'm going to review that I've had before, and I love Rittenhouse 100. But will I love it better than the Old Overholt? That's going to be fun to find out. We will bring this back out next week as well and do a little comparison after we've done the tasting of the Rittenhouse. So, come back for that. Okay, is there anything I'm missing? No. Larry's watching. Hey, Larry, how are you? You're a little late. We're just about done, but I'm glad you're here. As a matter of fact, I'm glad all of you are here. Thank you for coming. You could be anywhere else and you're with me, and that makes Thursday evenings fun for me, so I really, really appreciate it. We will see you next week with the Rittenhouse, 7 o'clock, live right here on Beautiful Bourbon. You take care, and we will see you then. Night.